Good morning, everyone. Our Christmas celebration is going to be starting real soon, so I'd encourage you to come in and grab a seat. Once you're seated, if you'd like to turn around and give somebody your goofiest smile and just mouth Merry Christmas to them, that would be fantastic, and we'll get going in 2.5 minutes. Everybody, are you excited for Christmas Day? Christmas is amazing because of the way that we celebrate it, but even more, it's amazing because of what it means. And I hope you're really pumped to come and celebrate our newborn King. So I'd invite you to stand to your feet. The team is going to come up and lead us in some fantastic songs that tell us the meaning of Christmas and why it is such a brilliant day to be celebrating together. Thanks, team. Yeah, you're allowed to clap. That was really amazing. Thanks, team. It is so cool that such amazing songs have been written and sung and played. And the reason why we have such amazing music that we enjoy over Christmas is because the story of Christmas is so amazing. It inspires people to write brilliant songs like that, and it inspires people to sing and play them so well with so much enthusiasm. So we're going to tune into the story of Christmas, and Shiloh's going to read to us part of that story now. Thanks, Shiloh.
This is how Jesus the Messiah was born. His mother Mary was engaged to be married to Joseph, but before the marriage took place, while she was still a virgin, she became pregnant through the power of the Holy Spirit. Joseph, to whom she was engaged, was a righteous man and did not want to disgrace her publicly, so he decided to break the engagement quietly. As he considered this, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream. "Joseph, son of David," the angel said, "do not be afraid to take Mary as your wife, for the child within her was conceived by the Holy Spirit, and she will have a son, and you are to name him Jesus, for he will save his people from their sins." All of this was occurred to fulfill the Lord's message through his prophet. "Look, the virgin will conceive a child. She will give birth to a son, and they will call him Emmanuel, which means God is with us." When Joseph woke up, he did as the angel of the Lord commanded and took Mary as his wife.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Shiloh. Well, thank you for being here today. As we celebrate that story, we celebrate the fact that God has sent his Son into the world to be God with us. We are not on our own. He is here with us. So we're going to stand and sing again just how amazing it is that he has come. Thanks, team.
so I can see you. All right. Welcome. We're going to read a book called The Mighty, Mighty King. Kings are powerful. This story is about the king of all other kings. So hold up your arms and show me your mighty, mighty muscles. Can you do that? Have we got mighty muscles? Yes, Lydia's got mighty muscles, and so does Maxwell. I can see them. You can join in whenever you hear me say these words, mighty, mighty king. What are you going to do when I say mighty, mighty king? Show me your muscles. Okay. Why is Christmas a special date? Why is it something to celebrate? Why did a messenger go for a chat with someone whose tummy would soon grow fat? Because the baby was a mighty, mighty king. Why did the parents journey down to Bethlehem, King David's town? Because their baby was a mighty, mighty king. Why were angels noisy that night? Why did shepherds who cowered in fright, show me your frightened faces? Yeah. Rush to see an amazing sight. Why did God make a bright new star? Can you see the star? Why did strangers trek so far with gifts of gold? So bizarre. Because Jesus was a mighty, mighty king. I wonder if Jesus did that. Curled up and had a play with these special gifts. But he didn't grow up in a palace. This king never sat on a throne. His only crown was made of thorns. He died on a cross alone. He chose to die for us, but wow, he came to life and he's still alive now. We know one day he'll return to earth, so love and obey him for all you're worth. And with Christmas fun, we'll remember his birth, because Jesus is our mighty, mighty king. All right. Thank you, everyone. Shall we go back to our seats?
Jesus is a pretty special king, and there were a number of people who recognised when Jesus was born that he was indeed a very special person. And we're going to hear from the Bible a little bit about that as Nat reads it to us. Thanks, Nat.
Matthew 2, 1 to 12. Jesus was born in Bethlehem, in Judea, during the reign of King Herod. About that time, some wise men from eastern lands arrived in Jerusalem, asking, "Where is this newborn King of the Jews? We saw his star as it rose, and we have come to worship him." King Herod was deeply disturbed when he heard this, as was everyone in Jerusalem. He called a meeting of the leading priests and teachers of religious law and asked, "Where is the Messiah supposed to be born?" "In Bethlehem, in Judea," they said, "for this is what the prophet wrote. And you, O Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are not least among the ruling cities of Judah, for a ruler will come from you, who will be the shepherd of my people, Israel." Then Herod called for a private meeting with the wise men, and he learned from them the time when the star first appeared. Then he told them, "Go to Bethlehem and search carefully for the child, and when you find him, come back and tell me, so I can go and worship him too." After this interview, the wise men went on their way, and the star they had seen in the east guided them to Bethlehem. It went ahead of them and stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were filled with joy. They entered the house and saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. Then they opened their treasure chests and gave him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. When it was time to leave, they returned to their own country by another route, for God had warned them in a dream not to return to Herod.
Thanks, Nat. Well, Christmas is a great time for gifts, isn't it? Did anyone receive some gifts this morning or yesterday? Or maybe he's looking forward to getting some gifts later in the day. I know we did as a family, as we sat around the tree. It was really cool. Giving gifts on Christmas is as old as Christmas itself. It's one of the ways that we show how much we value people and we express our love to them. Well, as you came in today, you would have received a little collection of 3 gifts. Just like Jesus was given 3 gifts. Now, if you didn't get 3 gifts stapled together, if you could put your hands up, I'm going to look for 2 people whose names start with the letter J. Oh, look at that. There's one right there. Jacob, would you be willing to help me out? And Jess, would you be willing to help out as well? I've got 2 baskets here. If you spot somebody with a hand up because they didn't get one of these, can you make sure you give them one? Because we're all going to need 3 gifts. Now, the gifts that are on these little slips of paper aren't quite the same as the 3 gifts that Jesus received. And depending on what you like, you might really, really like them or go, oh no. So what we're going to do now is something that I don't know if it's something that you do in your family or maybe at the office party when you get something and go, oh, whatever. We're going to have a trading opportunity, okay? So look at the gifts that you were given. And you only get one, all right, out of these 3. And what we're going to do, we're going to start passing these tags around. So if there's one there that you don't want, you just take that off and pass it along. And what we're going to try and do is, as we do that, we'll be swapping. So let's just say I'm with Beck here. I'm going to say, well, I've got heaps of camping gear already. Have you got something that you'll trade for camping gear? And Beck might find something that she wants, and I could say, hey, have you got any Frisbees? And Beck might say, well, no, I don't, but I've got this, and I might take that. And hopefully, you've got a football. Oh, I do like footballs. I'll trade you for that. Now, the goal, I need to try and get 3 of a kind, all right? So whatever it is that you've got, you need to get 3 of that, because whoever is the first person to get 3 of a kind of anything at all will get some lovely Corinthian chocky thingies, all right? So the stakes are high. So start trading, everybody. I've got
Outside the Frisbee.
Oh,
Outside the Frisbee.
what have you got? Have you got a power tool? He's got it. Okay, everybody. I hate to interrupt, but we have a winner. And it's Paul. Paul got to me first. Well done, Paul. Give Paul a hand. Well done. Somebody else got there just in front of you. What did you get? Kitchen gadgets. Nice. Well done. All right, good job, everyone. Grab a seat. First prize has been taken. Oh, you got one as well? Okay. All right, we've found our winner. Grab a seat. Whose idea was this? It's chaos. All righty. Okay. Now, if you can hear me, tap somebody on the shoulder and say the game's over. It's been won. It's weird because when we give out presents at our house, it's never this chaotic. Well done. We've already had first prize gone, sorry. Oh, Paddy, you got there in the end. Oh, well. I'm surprised how many people actually managed to find 3 of a kind. But Paul was our first. Thank you very much. What did you get? The chickens. Brilliant. Appreciated in a certain context. All right, so I don't know what you were hoping for. We had 3 chickens, we had 3 water balloons. Wow, what have you got? Yeah, you can chuck them in there. Thanks, mate. Good job. There's even more of them. There was about 30 different gifts there. So I don't know which one that you saw and thought, yes, I'm going to try get that one. But Christmas can be a bit like that, can't it? It's like, oh, I've got my heart set on something really special. There was one particular present, though, that I felt a bit bad about including in the group. We had things like chickens and goats, which are things that we buy for people around the world at Christmas time. We had things like Bunnings vouchers, which are fantastic. We had dolls and all kinds of things, makeup and all that kind of stuff, jewellery. So there was all kinds of gifts where I thought, you know what, somebody's going to really love that. Maybe it's not for me, but somebody will love it. But there was one particular one which I thought, oh, that's a tricky one. Did anyone get a gift called Jesus? Some of you did. And that made it really, really tricky, because in a crowd like this, chances are everyone's going to say, well, Jesus is obviously the best gift at Christmas time. I can't give Jesus away. But if everybody's thinking that, it's like, but how am I going to get my set? Because no one else is going to give him away either. And I've got a bit of a problem. If I want to win the game and get those lovely Corinthian chocky thingies that Paul's probably going to share afterwards, no pressure, but probably, then how do I keep Jesus and still win? And sometimes life feels a bit like that too. Sometimes it feels like if you're going to win at life and if you're going to be able to get what you want, sometimes it feels like you've got to leave Jesus aside a little bit and maybe trade him in a little bit. So that's why I want to say to you guys, thank you very much for already doing something really awesome this Christmas. Because you decided that you wanted to keep Jesus the most important thing about Christmas. That's why you're here today. And that's why we've been singing these amazing songs and remembering that incredible story. Because you know that while all the other stuff is fantastic, Jesus is really what it's all about. And he's the source of our peace and our joy at Christmas time. But I thought, look, it would only be fair to, I shouldn't just say that as a statement. I should test that and see if it's actually true or not. So I wanted to explore what are some of the other things that might give us that real sense of peace and joy that I've just said really comes from Jesus. And just like a lot of the other things that were written on those bits of paper, money and stuff, you know, the things that we have, they often are things that we turn to for some joy and some peace in life as well. You know, when I was younger, I moved around a lot. By my 21st birthday, I'd had more different homes that I'd lived in than I'd had birthdays. Moving was just something we did a lot. But during my teenage years, for 4.5 years, I lived in the one place, which was quite unusual. It was down at Boston in an area called the Holy Mile. Some of you might know it. And our family was looking after a campsite there. And when we moved in, my sister and I were both teenagers. And we moved into the cottage on the property, and it was a 2-bedroom place. And my parents thought, you know what? I don't know if having a teenage boy and a girl sharing a room is a great idea. So what they did is they got some wardrobes, and the little kind of lounge area that was part of the kitchen, they kind of separated that off with wardrobes. And so the lounge room became their bedroom, and my sister and I had our own bedrooms, and then we had this little kitchen area and the shared toilet and bathroom and stuff. It was a really compact little place. And eventually we kind of expanded that out. But when we started, we lived in this really, really tight quarters and not a lot of privacy for mum and dad, unfortunately for them. So that was kind of my home. That's what I grew up with. When I went to uni, I moved in with a family, and they had a 2-bedroom house. Everyone had their own room. There was 2 games rooms, and it just felt like, wow, this is amazing. But then I met somebody who lived in the area, and he had a 3-story house, and there was not only everyone had their own rooms, and there was lots of different living areas, he had his own personal gym in his house. Now, for kids who were obsessed with sport and getting big and strong, that was just like fantastic. He had a basketball court, a tennis court, a swimming pool. They lived on the river. They had jet skis. It's like, this is living. This is fantastic. And I just thought, man, wouldn't it be amazing to have grown up in a place like that, having all that stuff? Well, many years later, I travelled to a part of the world that had just gone through a disaster. It was Super Typhoon Haiyan, as we called it here, that had gone through the Philippines. And I travelled over there, and part of the area I went through had been hit by an earthquake recently. Then I went to the area of Tacloban, which had been hit by this super typhoon. And the people there who lived close to the shore, there'd been this tidal surge, and it had washed all of their homes away. And so for the survivors, they had no homes, but that tidal surge had also washed ships up onto the shore. So what they'd done is they'd kind of set up shelters underneath the ships that were kind of leaning over on their sides, and they were kind of huddled in underneath the ships, just getting shelter from the elements. And in some cases, they were able to get inside the ships and set up camp inside the hulls of these ships. And as I was in that kind of place, I thought to myself, you know what? A cramped 2-bedroom house would feel pretty amazing to these guys right now. They might see where I'd moved into as a teenager and go, wow, this is amazing. Could you just imagine having a house like this, so secure, so safe from the elements? And to them, that would have been just brilliant. It's all kind of relative, isn't it? And what I've noticed in life is that wherever you are at and whatever you have, you tend to look at the people who have a bit more than you, and you tend to go, wow, that would be amazing if I could only have that. And even those people who have that tend to be looking at somebody a few steps ahead of them and going, whoa, that would be amazing if only I could have that. Money and stuff doesn't ever seem to be enough on its own to help us to really feel content and like it's enough, where we have everything that we need. And what I've noticed as I've met people who have a lot of stuff and as I've met people who have very, very little, is that there are people who have a lot of peace in their joy who have a lot, and there are people who have a lot of peace and joy in their lives who have very little. And there are people who are absolutely without peace and joy in their lives who have a lot. And there are people without peace and joy in their lives who have a little. And the amount of money and stuff that they have doesn't seem to be the deciding factor. It makes a difference, absolutely. But it doesn't seem to be the thing that makes a difference as to whether or not somebody is able to have peace in their heart and joy in their life. So if money and stuff isn't the thing that decides whether or not we're going to have peace and joy, what could it be? Well, if it's not what we have, maybe it's just who we are and how we feel about ourselves. That's pretty important too, right? You know, when I was younger, I was really, really shy, and I still am, and sometimes I tell people about that. But particularly when I was young, it was really, really obvious, because kids tend to not hide how they're feeling. Have you ever noticed that? Us adults tend to be a little bit better at doing that. But I remember hearing my grandma tell me, I was too young to remember it myself, but I visited my granddad in the hospital after he'd had some surgery. And it was this big, daunting place. And I was from the country, so being in the city was a big deal, and being in this big hospital was a bit scary. So I went straight under the bed and just hid there while Grandma was visiting Granddad. And the nurses saw me under the bed and thought, oh, we're going to win this kid over. And so they tried to entice me out from under the bed with biscuits. And those who know me know I'm a sucker for snacks. And so it was like, oh, I really want those bickies. But I was really, really shy, and I did not want to see all these strange people. So I just stayed under the bed and I shoved out my hand like that. And they put a bicky in it, and I brought my hand back. And I stayed there, and they tried to go further away, and it wasn't buying it. That hand is not moving any further. And so that's just where I stayed for the whole visit. Stayed under the bed until Grandma took me home again. But it got worse. It wasn't just nurses who I said, nah, not going to talk to you. Norseman, the town that I grew up in, was a small place, and it didn't get a lot of VIPs. Maybe people would drive through it because we're on the edge of the Nullarbor, but not a lot of people stayed there and really made Norseman their base. One time, the Prime Minister of Australia flew in his jet, landed on the Salt Lake. It was kind of a big deal. Photo opportunity, he was going to meet some of the locals, then fly out again. And we were all there, and the Prime Minister saw me, because obviously I was really cute as a kid. Some things never change. So he wanders over to where I'm standing, and he holds out his hand, and this was a guy by the name of Malcolm Fraser. He was a pretty big guy. And he tried to get me to shake his hand, and I'm like, I am not having a bar of that. And I'm just cuddling into Mum and Dad. And same deal, he tries his best, and it's kind of a little bit embarrassing. I'm the Prime Minister of Australia kid. And he's trying to get the photo opportunity and shake this country kid's hand, and I was not having it. So eventually he gave up, got back on his plane and just flew off. And so sorry about that, Prime Minister, but that's how shy I was. Like even with Mum and Dad kind of going, come on, this is kind of embarrassing. It's a big deal for our town. I was not going to shake that guy's hand at all. And that kind of continued through life. You know, when I was a teenager, I was terrified of talking to the 3 Gs. You guys know what the 3 Gs are? Some of you have got it, yeah. So grown-ups are very scary. I was happy hanging out with kids, but grown-ups, it just sent chills down my spine. Don't want to talk to those guys. Groups of people, you know, standing up in front of a group. Who's had an English teacher make them do that? Oh, man. Didn't like talking to groups. And girls, of course. You know, being a guy, I was a bit scared of them as well. And so I was really self-conscious. I didn't want to talk to any of them, and I would avoid it if at all possible. You know the weird thing, though? Later on, I heard from some other kids who thought, and they knew me when I was this awkward teenager, they thought I was actually really good at talking to grown-ups and to groups and to girls. And I was like, you're kidding me? Because I used to look at other people and think, oh man, I wish I could do that. I wish I could just be comfortable and just chat the way you do. I wish I wasn't always kind of going, don't say something stupid, don't say something stupid, what are they thinking of me? I wish I wasn't like that. But apparently not everyone saw that, and some people thought that I could actually do it okay. So that voice in my head that always, you know, replayed the conversation, do you guys ever do that? You walk away and going, oh, that was so lame, why did you say that? Apparently that voice, which is still there by the way, wasn't always true. Maybe it was sometimes true, but it wasn't always true. So what I thought of myself wasn't always what other people thought of me. Even though I thought, just no, people are scary, I want to clam up. Other people seemed to think that I was actually okay with people after I kind of grew out of that toddler phase. I was reading a book written by somebody who works in a similar job to me, and he's really, really successful. He's at the top of his field. He's got a kind of a bodybuilder's body. He's like big and strong, everything that young Mike wanted to be. Sold lots of books, very, very popular, and just Mr. Confidence. You see him on a stage, and he's walking around doing his thing, and he just looks like, man, this guy is just, everyone wants to be like him. But he wrote in this book how he has a voice in his head that's very much like the voice in my head, where good enough is never good enough. And no amount of congratulations, no amount of success is ever enough to feel like he's okay, that he's done enough, that he's worthwhile. So he was working these crazy long hours, and his life and his family was on the verge of falling apart because he had this inner voice saying, you're not good enough, playing over and over and over in his head. Even though most of us, people like me, would be looking at him and saying, man, you've got it made. I wish I could be like you. He wasn't feeling that way. So it seems that how we feel about ourselves and how far we've got along on the ladder of success isn't actually a guarantee of experiencing peace and joy either. No matter what we might think of anybody else, how they feel about themselves might be a completely different story. So if we rely on what we think about ourselves in order to feel good about life and to have peace and joy in our life, that's a really fragile thing. And so as I think about all the other sorts of things, whether it's money and stuff, whether it's how I think about myself, whether it's as I think about my relationships with others, what I've realised as I've thought all these things through is that really everything in this world that we could rely on to experience peace and joy is temporary. And it's fragile. That's just the nature of stuff in this world. Whether it seems that way at the time or not, there's nothing that is solid as a foundation, that's permanent, that is a guaranteed source of peace and joy in our lives. Except God. God's not temporary, and God's not fragile. And the beauty of the Christmas story is that God has come into our world, and he offers to be the source of our peace and our joy. And he's done that through Jesus. And I think that's a really, really wonderful thing to be able to celebrate. That Jesus has come. He has offered us himself. And he is not temporary and he's not fragile. His death and resurrection proved it. He has overcome every barrier that would otherwise have stopped him being a foundation for us. He is victorious over everything. He offers us his love, and he has proved that even the worst treatment that we could dish out toward him is not enough to stop him loving us. We can never lose his love because we never earned it in the first place. His love is definitely not temporary, and it's definitely not fragile. And he offers us everlasting life. As he rose again from the grave, he proved that the power of life that he possesses cannot be overcome by death. That is not temporary and it is not fragile. We know that this offer of peace and joy is real because Jesus has proved that it is solid. And there's this great little verse in the book of Jonah, and it goes like this. It says, "Those who cling to worthless idols forfeit the grace that could be theirs." It's a pretty cool verse. Those that cling to worthless idols forfeit the grace that could be theirs. So here's the lesson. Don't put good things in God's place. Don't trade Jesus in for anything. They'll end up being worthless to you if you do. You'll miss out on the grace that only God can give you. So I want to ask you just one question as we finish up this section. What are you clinging to in life? What are you hoping to get your peace and joy from? It's great to enjoy all the kinds of things that were written on those bits of paper. Again, Bunnings vouchers, awesome. But whatever that might be for you, enjoy it. Good things are fantastic. They're an expression of the goodness of God. But don't put them in God's place. Don't trade Jesus in for those, because eventually they'll prove themselves to be temporary and fragile. But you can have something that's not. That's a relationship with God. That's peace and joy that comes from Jesus. And that is the offer of Christmas. The Christmas story tells us there's nothing and no one like Jesus. So don't trade him for anything. And if you want to know more about how Jesus can be a source of peace and joy in your life, I'd love to chat to you about it. And there's a whole bunch of people who are here today because they've discovered that for themselves, that there's nothing and no one like Jesus. So chat to us about it. And I hope that this Christmas can be the greatest Christmas ever as you either discover for the first time or are reminded today where your peace and joy can really come from. Can I pray with us? God, thank you that we get to come today and celebrate Christmas. Christmas is awesome. And it's awesome because it's when Jesus came into our world to be the source of everything for us, including our peace, including our joy. Thank you that your love for us is not temporary, it's not fragile, that we never needed to earn it. You love us because of who you are. Thanks that our worth as people comes from how you think of us, that you consider us worth coming for. Jesus considered us worth living for. He considered us worth dying for and rising again for. He considered us worth coming back again for. And we look forward to the day that he will do that. So thank you that we can stand and sit here today. Thank you that we can sing, that we can play, that we can listen, we can do all the things that we're doing because of who Jesus is and what he's done for us. Thank you for the peace and joy of today. May it fill our lives every day, I pray. Amen. Thank you, team.
Please stand.
Herald angels sing, glory to
So great to be able to celebrate our Prince of Peace, the wonderful Saviour that has come into the world. Thank you for being here today as we do that. One of the other ways that we like to celebrate the birth of Jesus every year is we like to share some of that joy around the world in very practical ways. So there's a little box right near where Brett's standing at the back there on the side wall. If you'd like to be a part of what Churches of Christ Overseas Aid is doing to bring some joy into some places that are going through some hardship at the moment, please feel free to make a donation into that box. If you need a tax invoice, because it is tax deductible, there's some envelopes that you can use that are on the table just in front of the sound desk. And it's just a very simple and practical thing that we do each year to make sure that the whole world gets to celebrate some goodness, just like we get to celebrate every Christmas time. So I'd love to have you a part of that. And if you want to do that online, you can do that through the website as well. Again, thank you so much for being here today. We're going to sing a song that encourages us to head out from here, bringing this wonderful message of Jesus' birth with us wherever we go. So we're going to sing that with gusto. We also have a friend who would normally be with us this morning who is in hospital, Albert. And for those of you who have been praying for him and Pat, I'd love to give you an update on how he's going. So if you want to catch up after the service, I'll meet you down at the front here and just give you the update so that you can be continuing to pray for them. But there's been some encouraging news over the last day, which has been really lovely. So let's stand and sing this wonderful song as we close our time together.
Feel free to clap your hands. Telling on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere I go. Telling on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born.
Thank you to our band, our singers and choir. You've been amazing today. Thanks for helping us to celebrate the joy of Christmas. Thank you guys for being here. On the way out, if you would like to take a candy cane, which is, of course is also a J for Jesus. Am I holding that the right way or do I need to flip it? That's good. I'm looking at it backwards. So take one of those, and if you can't handle the peppermint, there's a few of these in there as well. So please take those, and may they remind you who we're celebrating as we go out from here today. And for those who want to get the update, love to give you an update on Albert as well. God bless you.